Hey guys, Darcy here, and I wanted to talk about my actual Mac setup. See, my iMac is a bit dated, but it's not holding me back from getting the performance I need to get songs mixed and produced. And I'm going to go over what I believe is the most important part of my Mac that's getting me that performance. Let's jump into it. All right, let's see what I'm rocking with on my computer. So we can see here that I have a late 2012 27-inch iMac. So yes, my computer is about 8-9 years old, depending on where you do the math or how good you are at it. It is a quad-core 2.9 gigahertz i5. So yes, it's got 4 brains, but it's decently powerful, but it's definitely an older chip. So compared to today, it's probably not much to talk about. Now, I also have an SSD hard drive, which we're going to circle back to. And I also have a graphics chip in here, which isn't super relevant for Luna, so no need to talk about that. But what's really important here is this SSD hard drive. So let's jump into talking about that a little more. So we're going to bring up Blackmagic disk test or speed test. And this measures the performances of your drives. And you see I was running one this a second ago. That basically is going to give you a sense of what's going to bottleneck your performance. Now, one thing I want to mention right now is that I'm actually recording my camera over USB. So it's HDMI to USB, and that's going to eat up some of my external hard drive's performance because it's eating up some of the performance of my USB bus power. If you know what that is, great. If you don't, just understand that when you have a lot of USB devices running at once, especially one that's pushing a lot of data back and forth, it's going to limit the other drives that are plugged in. So let's first go take a look at testing this on my main computer. So if I were to select, for instance, my documents folder of my main computer, and then I'm going to run a speed test. This is going to basically write a file to the drive and read the file from the drive and then delete it afterwards to see how fast my drive is. So let's hit start. And this one's starting a little slow. In my previous test, I noticed that my main hard drive, which is SSD, started a little slow on the first write. Started around 200, and then the read kicks up around 500, this time almost 600, and then the write starts to kick up a little bit afterwards. So it is a much more performant drive, but it can be a little slow at times because probably it's an older computer and it has some throttling or I don't know how to say this, but it probably has some bottlenecks in the system, okay? But we can see here that we are getting around 500, okay? So there's definitely performance there. And then if I were to select an external drive, for instance, my backup drive, this is a old HDD, we'll see what kind of performance we get. So this is going to creep up. It usually tops out at about 110, maybe a touch higher at times. So we're seeing right now our write is getting about 90 and our read's getting about 120. So the thing to keep in mind is also that my original hard drive was HDD like this. And so that means that if I was using that as where I'm writing my files for Luna, that would be much more of a bottleneck by literally like compare 400 or 500 to like 100. How much more performance could I get, right? How much faster could the application be when it's trying to write files directly to your hard drive? Now, what I actually use for my client files and whatnot is an external NVMe drive that it's an internal drive that's inside an enclosure that makes it external. So it's one of the fastest drives, but the enclosure does limit how fast it could be, which usually tops it out at around 500 in this computer, and I've tested on newer computers and I get about 1,000 megabytes per second. Now, because I mentioned before that this camera is also running through USB, it is going to throttle it, so we should see some probably slower read and writes in the beginning, and then it'll probably kick up. Okay, we're coming in at about where it actually should be expected, so 420, and about 420 here. So this is about what I'm getting. So it's about the same as what I would see on my main hard drive. And see there, it's definitely struggling to read because, again, I'm running a direct live video feed, and that's going to affect the performance. So the point more being is that one of the things when you have an older computer is to make sure you have a good performant hard drive to read and write from, especially with an application like Luna that is writing files directly to the drive continuously all the time and expects you to have an SSD. So this is just something to show that yes, you can get performance out of an older computer, or if you have a newer computer and you're not getting that performance, definitely make sure to check what kind of hard drive you are writing to ensure that it's not bottlenecking you in the process. Anyways, hopefully this was helpful for you. Hopefully it wasn't too long-winded. And if you found this beneficial or have questions to follow up with, feel free to leave them in the comments. And thank you for your time. Have yourself a good one.